Good morning, everyone. 6 a.m. on the 21st of April. Coming to you from Central Florida. Dr. Kiltz is nearby as well, right? In
Sarasota.
Is that Central?
Yeah.
And Boston Carnivore is
Boston, Massachusetts, where it's 34 degrees this morning.
Oh, terrible.
Yes.
I am so glad I'm here.
The weather is perfect here in Sarasota, but it's perfect in Syracuse. I actually may be going up tonight to honor a friend's mom who passed, and get up there a little bit, and then maybe go out to California, visit Brother Ray and Tom, and then I got to get out to Phoenix, and then I got to go to I got MeatStock,
Yeah,
I've got the global world renowned opening of Healing Humanity in Montello, Wisconsin, and then what, UK?
Yeah, the Great British Meetup.
The Great British Meetup. And I'm going to go see the Stonehenge, where, I don't know, Stone Age people were building stuff out of stones. But what are we talking about today, Dr. Nelson? What's on the mysterious journey?
So let's start with a very short video and we will be right back, okay?
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we've got a powerful story about reclaiming your life. Meet DianeLadd. She was super active, but her life was about to change drastically. It all started with weird symptoms in her yoga class. Dizziness, nausea, Then things got worse. Slurred speech, her tongue felt frostbitten, she needed answers. The diagnosis? Multiple sclerosis. Her own body was attacking her central nervous system. So for 5 years, she did exactly what doctors said. But things just kept going downhill. Her symptoms just piled up. It was all becoming, completely overwhelming. Brain fog, fatigue, double vision, the list goes on. By 2022, she'd hit her breaking point. She actually had to close her own counseling practice. She couldn't work anymore. She was desperate. She thought there has to be another way, right? And she found a whole new philosophy. Instead of just managing symptoms, what about healing? She discovered BEBIS, pronounced babies, a radical idea focused on animal-based foods. So she took the plunge with a 30-day challenge, super strict, just 4 core foods. And what happened next? Honestly, it was nothing short of remarkable. After only 5 months, those horrible symptoms that had defined her life, they were gone. Okay, fast forward 10 months. She's at her neurologist's office for a pretty crucial test. And she nailed it, walked perfectly. Her doctor was just completely floored. I mean, you can't argue with that, right? They both agreed to delay her next infusion. And this number? That's how many new lesions showed up on her next 2 MRI scans. The scans showed 0 active disease. The attacks on her own body had actually stopped. So, today, DianeLadd is living completely symptom-free from a so-called incurable disease. Now, this isn't medical advice. It's her story, a powerful message of hope for others. It just makes you wonder, right? Could a 30-day challenge change your story too?
So how are you doing this morning, Diane?
I am doing fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you for that, Dr. Nelson. That was wonderful. That was really, really wonderful.
So for those that may be watching and haven't heard the story, the full story, that was a very short summary. Tell us about yourself and your story of healing.
Well, you really summed it up there. I was fine in 2015. I was killing it. I had just graduated from Boston College. I was starting my own practice. And I started getting these strange symptoms, these neurological symptoms. I didn't know what they were. My mouth was, every time I went to speak, my mouth was slurred. I was dizzy. I was nauseous. I was trying to do all the right things, like you said in the video, Dr. Nelson. I was in yoga class, I was taking spin class, but every time I exercised and my core temperature got up past that 1 degree, it short-circuited something in my brain, and I didn't even know what was happening. I just knew I was dizzy. I just knew I was nauseous, that I couldn't stay on the spin bike. And I went to a doctor. It took 2 years to get a diagnosis. As many people know who have had autoimmune diseases and other things, that these diagnoses don't come very, very quickly. So a lot of tests, a lot of MRIs. I think I had 2 or 3 MRIs before they even diagnosed it. And like I said, 2 years, from 2014 to 2016, I got the definitive diagnosis that I had multiple sclerosis. That day just devastating, because everything that you planned for in your life, everything that you wanted to do, that you thought your life would be, just kind of comes to a halt right there with those 3-4 words: you have multiple sclerosis. And it just goes through my mind of like, I have to tell my husband this, I have to tell my children this. What is my life going to look like? Just going to sleep each night, thinking of having to put a ramp in front of my house and everyone knowing that I had multiple sclerosis. But it wasn't instant. The progression of disease was very, very slow, very insidious. Just feeling a little bit dizzy one day, and then maybe a little dizzier. The medications don't help. The medications that they give you for multiple sclerosis do not cure the disease. They just halt the progression of disease, maybe 40%. They don't even give you the 40%. Maybe there's a 40% chance that it will not get worse. And what happens is they reevaluate. They give you MRIs. They give you an MRI once a year. And if they see new lesions, they change the medication, because that means the medication doesn't work. 3 tiers of medications. I was up to the 3rd tier, and that seemed to be holding it. But all the damage that had been done over the 8 years prior to doing carnivore diet, all that damage was still in my brain and in my body. And it manifested in these very, very strange and diverse symptoms that, when you think about it, like, I think about how would you know someone has the flu, right? So if I were looking out my window, my neighbor went to the mailbox, he would be hunched over, he would be walking more slowly, he would be, maybe pale if I was close enough. You would know that there was something wrong. And I think that's what happens when people have these insidious autoimmune diseases, that you just know that they're sick, that they're aging, that they're not moving the way that they used to move. You can tell. Why am I seeing your foot, Dr. Kiltz?
I'm stretching. I'm moving.
Good for you. But like when someone is sick or someone is aging, I even hate to use that because it really isn't aging. They move different. And once I started feeling better, it was my youngest son who said to me, "Mom, I can tell you're feeling better." And I said, "How can you tell, Alex?" And he said, "I can tell because you move differently. You stand differently. Your muscles can control your posture. You speak differently. Your expressions are different. Everything about you is different. And you become, when you are diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, or when you have multiple sclerosis, or any other autoimmune disease, you become a different person. Visually, auditorily, everything about you becomes different. And the carnivore diet, March 5th, 2024, was the day I started. And from that moment on, from that 3 weeks after that on, I became a different person. I became new.
Are we maybe just poisoned by plants like poison ivy, and there are no unique different diseases?
Could be, because you know what, Dr. Kiltz, I have to tell you, last October, I said to myself, maybe I've healed enough, because it was when everyone was going on and off carnivore diet, right? And I'm like, maybe I healed enough. Maybe I'll try a few veg, maybe. So I thought about it. I said, yeah, okay. Because you go out to dinner, just a steak on the plate. Sometimes you want a side salad. Sometimes you want a little, whatever. So I tried it for 2 weeks. It wasn't wonderful. It wasn't like ice cream sundaes. I'm telling you, it was a side of broccoli or a side salad. It wasn't even fruit, but I stayed low carb. I stayed more keto. Within 2 weeks, the fatigue came back.
Wow.
It came back. So it was like, maybe like a week and a half. I'm like, I think I'm noticing something. Something's a little different. But it was like at that two week mark, boom. I woke up one day and I felt that feeling of somebody with their hands on my shoulders, pushing me down. It's like,
wow.
It's kind of like
please put your questions in the chat. Go ahead, Dr. Kiltz. Sorry.
Or comments. But ultimately, the number of diseases that are labeled in modern medicine are on the rise.
Yes.
Are we really developing all these new diseases, or are we simply labeling inflammatory conditions caused by the same 5 things? That's it.
That I agree with you, Dr. Kiltz. And the way I look at it is we are a tree, right? So we've got the trunk, and down the roots go into the earth, right? And then we have these branches that come out. Unfortunately, they come out when we're not healthy. One branch says multiple sclerosis. One branch says type 2 diabetes. Another branch says, I don't know, rheumatoid arthritis, right? So they start to grow on the trunk of our tree. Same root problem. It's the roots. They try to give you, Ocrevus for the multiple sclerosis and blast that branch. They give you another medication for the rheumatoid arthritis and blast that branch. But you know what? The disease is coming from the roots. We have to look at the root problem of these diseases.
Are you a member of the MS Society? And are you a donator to the foundation that funds the research? And will the research ever find the solution that is truth? Or
they have these monthly gatherings online for MS Society or whatever it is. And I went one time just to see what was going on. And it was after I'd been on carnivore diet. I couldn't stay on the line. I had to hang up. I couldn't do it anymore, because it was all about, how do you manage your day? How do you manage your day? Just do one thing a day. If you have to go grocery shopping, just go do that and then rest for the rest of the day. And you know what, Dr. Kiltz? That's what I was doing. One thing a day. If I had to go to my friend's house, I would go to my friend's house and I would do just that. And, nobody knows. No, because I would get ready to go I wouldn't just go like out of bed looking sick. I would make myself look good. I would go there. I would converse. So everyone didn't know that I didn't feel good, but that was the only one thing I did a day. Or I would go grocery shopping, then I'd come home, or I would go to church, or it wasn't like a day of doing one thing after the other. I would do one thing a day. And that's what this multiple sclerosis society, whatever it is, tells you to do. Manage your time, manage your energy, manage your day. Now I've got so much energy, I can do multiple things a day, right? By eating ribeye and ground beef.
Well, wait a minute. Well, what do you have to think in order to know what to eat on this way of living?
What do you have to think?
What about the right recipe, the right macros?
No, you don't need any of that. You don't need any of that. It's the simplest thing you could ever even imagine. It's just put a steak on a grill, put a steak in an air fryer. I mean, I eat, do you want to know what I eat?
I want to know what you eat.
You want to know what I eat? Okay. So in the morning, so I go grocery shopping, I get a big thing of ground beef and I divide it up into 1 pound packet, 1/2 pound packages. So in the morning, I take a 1/2 pound of ground beef, put it in a pan, crack a couple of eggs, scramble it up, breakfast. Lunch, another thing of ground beef, stick it in a pan. Sometimes I add a little bone broth to it. Sometimes I don't. Put a little salt. Lunch. Dinner, ribeye in an air fryer, turn it on, dinner. So easy. I don't measure. I don't weigh. I don't, at first I would like count the macros just to see, but I think people are very worried about like eating too much or not eating enough. You know what? Eat when you're hungry. Stop eating when you're full. Simple, simple, simple.
What did your family say at the beginning when you decided to do this? Your husband, your extended family, what were they thinking?
My husband has always been very supportive. He knows that, I've been trying, I've been thinking about this, and I always knew that diet had something to do with health. I always made that connection. I've always worked out. I've always followed, been on a diet, off a diet, but really that connection get really, really strong. Probably about 2005. I noticed that I had plantar fasciitis, and I had also separately been following a low carb diet, and it got so much better. And my husband is kind of a joker, and he said to me, I wonder if it's your low carb diet that helps your plantar fasciitis. And I went, maybe. So I did a deep dive on, low carb diets, plantar fasciitis, and I found out that it could be gluten. So I continued to eliminate all gluten from my diet. And what would happen is if I had anything with gluten in it, exactly 2 days later, I would get extreme pain in my foot, and I wouldn't be able to, take our walks together. So I made that connection. And around the same time, I also made the connection with my hands. I've always had eczema since I was a child. And one day I was peeling potatoes and my hands became very inflamed, like red, bright red. And I was like, I wonder if I eat potatoes, if my hands become red and inflamed. And sure enough, I made that connection. So these are two different foods that I made the connection with my health. And I think that if I hadn't done that back in 2005, I wouldn't have been so open to making the connection with the carnivore diet. But I had already found some success in eliminating some foods and getting my health back, right? So carnivore was and also there's a doctor, her name is Terry Walls, and she does
Walls Protocol.
Walls Protocol. Yeah. It's a paleo. What's that?
Too many plants in the Walls Protocol.
Yes, exactly. I was eating, talk about plants. I was eating 9 servings of vegetables per day in the Walls Protocol. Yes, very low carb, but those plants, Dr. Kiltz, we're brainwashed. We think that the plants are healthy. So anyway, that was my indoctrination into like a direct link to what you eat can affect your health. And the carnivore diet was just an extension of that.
Maybe we should eliminate the low carb word because it's actually false.
How is that?
Well, because you're talking about you don't eat carbs. You don't eat proteins. Most people don't even eat fat. They eat either animals or plants.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the mystery here is, well, what is a carbohydrate? What is the technical term of a carbohydrate?
You tell me.
Dr. Nelson, do we have something there? Maybe someone else wants to chime in here.
I'm getting something.
What's the technical term of a carbohydrate?
There are sugars.
The sugars.
Yeah.
Right? Are plants made of sugar or made of fat?
Definitely not fat.
They're made of sugars.
You know, it's interesting. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and Dr. George Ede was on the podcast, and the interviewer asked her, what would be one food to eliminate to start with? What would be the one food? And I thought she was going to say sugar. And I think that the person who was interviewing her also thought she was going to say sugar. Surprisingly, she said wheat. And because of the toxins that are in the wheat itself, that would be the first thing to eliminate. So, you know, but sugar is also a plant. You know, you trace back that food. It's not this white substance. You trace it back. Where does it come from? It's a plant. Everything
are made of, again, the majority of the plant contains a cell wall, which is different than all animal cells, which are cell membranes.
That's right.
They don't have an outer cell wall, which is basically a long chain glucose particle, which we call starches and we call carbohydrates and, you know, all these things. Ultimately, I mean, where does heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine come from? Plants. So many people are plant-centric, which you can be, which are tumorgenic, antigenic, which then get into the scientism of the complexity of hard hat people, which keep it complicated. So again, a plant or an animal, you either eat lean meats or fatty meats, but avocado is still a fruit and not a fat.
That's right.
Right?
Right. Right. Does not have the membrane, has the cell wall. It's a plant.
It's a plant.
It's a plant. And you know what? The membrane, the double lipid membrane, is bioidentical to our bodies. So we're eating something that is bioidentical that could be assimilated into and make our body when we're eating meat. When we eat plant, they're not bioidentical to us. We cannot absorb them. We cannot make our body regenerates. Our body, you know, we're not the same person 7 years later. We're like, we make these new cells, right? And how are we going to make them?
Well, we can eat plants.
We can, if we're starving.
You can eat, but eating plants required. I mean, why don't we eat only the straw and the raw? You know, why doesn't wheat be delivered to the market as just they cut it and they deliver it and you gather it and you eat it? Is that healthy for
like a bouquet of wheat? You just
right. Right. Like, or you go and grab the bouquet of flowers and you eat them.
Lovely.
I mean, can we do that healthily?
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in there that we're not supposed to eat. Now, it's interesting you say bouquet of flowers, because after 2 years of being on this program, this way of eating, this ancestral way of eating, like I view food so differently. We went out to brunch for Easter, and I mean, it was very limited to what I could eat. There were eggs, there were some meats, but they had sauces on them. So I just had bacon and eggs, and I was fine with it. I just had some shrimp too. There was some shrimp. And I just wanted to go around the room and like look at the other food. So I was like walking around. I got a cup of coffee and I'm walking around, and there were these beautiful plates of cakes with like this decorative frostings and all of this stuff. And I was just admiring the artwork of the, it was almost like I was looking at a bouquet of flowers. That's what reminded me of it. That it just looked so pretty, like the people's talent of using this frosting. And my mother-in-law came up to me and she's like, "Oh, is there anything that you can eat?" I'm like, "No." I'm not looking to eat something. I'm just admiring what these cakes look like. And it was just so beautiful. And I have to say that, like, there was a time where I'd be like, "Oh, I can't have it. Oh, I can't." But honestly, there was none of that. It was almost like I was just admiring the artwork of what was happening. It could have been like one of your children's paintings, Alia. And I was just like, I was at like a museum looking at the food. And but it's interesting, like the stages that you go through with that, like the feelings that you have about your food, because food is an emotional thing for us, I think, at some times. But I had none of that emotion, Dr. Kiltz. I don't know. It just went away. And I see food as something that nourishes my body. I see events where I get to see my extended family as a time where I communicate with people. It's not a time where I gorge myself on different foods that I haven't been able to eat in a long time. It's a whole different mindset.
I'm emotional about food. I'm emotional about a ribeye steak or raw ribeye or I'm emotional because
it's different though.
Well, right, because or my sparkling water, I'm emotional about it. Okay, I'm emotional about some coffee sometimes. I mean, I think maybe our emotions we need to embrace them in a way, and our carnivore emotions, right? Because because ultimately, don't you look forward to that beautiful, amazing piece of beef and ribeye or whatever it is? There's an emotion to all this, I think.
Yeah, it's different though. And I think it's the chemical makeup of your brain, the dopamine, the serotonin, the craving. Like the dopamine is the more, I want more, I want more. And when you think of like a rabbit or a cow, how they just eat, that's the dopamine. They're driven. It's like they're emotionally, physically, psychologically driven to eat all of this food stuff, right? The veg, because their bodies need it, and their bodies need to turn it over into fat. They're making fat from the grass. Their bodies making that.
Or you die.
Bodies, we are like lions. We are meant to eat one big meal, and we have the dopamine, not a lot of it, but it drives us to eat, right? And then we take in the meal, and then we get this beautiful chemical called serotonin, oxytocin, that we go, it's like a big sigh. I am full. That was wonderful. And I'll say to my husband after we eat, I'll say, "Wow, that was really good. That steak was delicious." And he'll say, "Was it different than yesterday's steak?"
And every day, it's kind of like it's making love every day to life.
It's wonderful.
Food, relationships, connections.
It's satisfaction. There's no satisfaction eating grass. There's no satisfaction eating.
Well, there is, because it's a drug.
No, it causes more dopamine. It causes
who are doing it. It's a drug.
It's a drug because it's not the serotonin, it's not the satisfaction, it's the more. When you eat one Lay's potato chip, you cannot just eat one, because it signals dopamine, more dopamine in your brain. You need to eat more and more and more and more. Whereas a steak, you eat it, you get to a point of satisfaction, and you don't need more because you've finished.
But there's still a drive for more.
When you're hungry again.
Right. But you're right. So are you eating fatty meat or leaner meat?
Fatty meat.
And why fatty meat, Diane?
Because the fat satisfies. The fat, I believe, I don't know exactly what's going inside my brain, but it's really, it releases some kind of satisfaction hormone where you go, okay, I'm done.
What hormone is not stimulated when you eat fat?
Well, hormones are always stimulated. You do get a little bit of insulin, right? Yeah, a little bit. You do.
Nope. If you eat only raw fat, you
The
do not.
least amount, but it's still, I mean, carbohydrates do this, and then
it's almost nothing because,
almost nothing, but there is a little.
But again, it is infinitely small. But most people do not eat lardo.
Not lard, right? You don't eat with a spoon.
What? No, not the spoon stuff. The animal's white pure stuff, which has no requirement for insulin. That's why the ketogenic diet was fat. But are we fat phobic today?
Yes.
Are carnivores fat phobic?
Yes.
Not. Some are.
Yes.
They are big time fat phobic.
It's amazing that, when I start talking to somebody about what I eat, they get this look of horror on their face. Horror. I'll say, they'll say, well, what do you eat today? For breakfast, I have a half a pound of ground beef and eggs. What? And it's like, they almost walk away from me. Like, really?
Well, but eating
25 pounds, and I wasn't trying to lose weight. I wasn't trying to lose weight. And I did.
Ali, where are your glasses?
I couldn't find them before the live stream.
Somewhere, right? Did you go to bed with them last night?
Under the bed, but I can't turn the light on yet. My husband's still sleeping.
You turn the light on. He's got to get up. Tell him to find your glasses.
I think I'll take
okay.
that.
All right, let me try it. Wait a minute.
Nobody's going to be able. You're not going to be able to read anything.
No,
I'm like this. I can read it like this. Okay, I'm gonna go try to find my glasses.
Diane.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna show you a proper. Let's see, a proper human diet. Hold on. Oh, it doesn't want to play.
Oh, I see.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh, gross.
That is lovely.
A seeds and nut diet or nuts and sinister. So, Diane, tell us a little bit about your current work and purpose in the carnivore world.
Well, I have a YouTube channel called Boston Carnivore DianeLadd, and I'm also on Instagram. Not much on Instagram yet. Boston_carnivore. And I talk about the carnivore diet and how that affected me. And that's what I'm doing. And I work out every day.
Where do you go? Where do you go work out?
I work out at Planet Fitness.
All right.
I lift heavy weights. Hey, I did a back row up to 30 pounds each hand. How much weight is that, Dr. Kiltz?
This is 20. I got my 30s over there, which I use too, but the 20s were right there.
Okay. Yeah. And I used to be a personal trainer back in the day. And I was also an aerobic instructor, a water aerobics instructor. I did all of that. So I have the knowledge. I use it on myself right now. And that's what I'm doing. I lift heavy things. I make videos. Yay, Alia!
So How have you influenced other MS plant poison people?
Well, I'm also a coach. I'm a Kiltz coach, and I hope I've influenced them positively. Yeah.
Well, do you have any stories? Are you seeing others like yourself that are waking up?
Not too many at this point. I think it's a slow go, you know, and I think of myself too. And what I'm trying to do at this point, Dr. Kiltz, is I'm trying to have some compassion for people because I see it, because I see that, you know, when I started this journey, it took me 3 months before I would try this. And I already had a connection with what I eat affects my health. I had that connection, and it still took me 3 months before I would try this thing. So, you know, instead of being judgmental, instead of saying, okay, you know, they're not listening to me, they're not following this thing, I pray for them. I pray for them.
We have a lot of questions, Dr. Kiltz.
Yeah.
We can.
Brian, Ari, Diane, have you had any of your doctors not believe that it was carnivore that helped you get better?
They are very careful in making that, having an opinion at all. My multiple sclerosis doctor, my neurologist, just said, just keep on doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't want to say, yes, it did it. No, it did not. Just keep on doing what you're doing. And then the second time I went into her, I just thought this was so strange. She looked at me and she said, well, you are what you eat. And I just went, oh. And I'm thinking, you are what you eat. You are what you eat. Was she trying to give me a little message in there? Yes, you're eating meat. You are meat. It's bioidentical. Your body is taking it up. I'm like, was she trying to give me this cryptic thing, you know? But then I went to, you know, she wanted me because, of course, the dreaded cholesterol was high. So, of course, you know, cure my MS, but don't give me a heart attack. So she wanted me to go to my PCP and, you know, do all the tests and blah, 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 blah. So I did. And my PCP was horrified because my cholesterol's wicked high. And I'm like, well, at least I get to walk, you know. I would definitely rather go with a heart attack than an MS. Okay. So those are my two choices. But just joking, I know there's no connection. However, doctors still think no matter what you tell them, there is a connection. So I had a CAC scan. Luckily, happily, zero. And it's very frustrating though, because, oh, you have to go on a statin. I'm like, I don't want to go on a statin. So what does she do? She sends it into the pharmacy. So now I've got this statin that I'm not picking up at the pharmacy. And it's on my record. Every single doctor I go to, I went for a colonoscopy. Are you taking your statin? I'm like, it was never my statin. I never picked it up. Can you take that off my record? No one will take it off.
You never claimed it to be yours.
It was never mine. I'm not taking it. So, but it's interesting because they will not take it off my record. And I think I'm wondering if it's because, you know, the doctor has to prescribe a statin for high cholesterol, or else maybe they lose points or get in trouble or get fired. I don't know. So it has to be on my record to show that I'm non-compliant to it. So yes, and I am non-compliant to it, and I will not take it.
Your criminal record.
It's on my criminal record. Do you guys ever watch Seinfeld with what's her name? She went to the doctor. What was her name?
Elaine.
Elaine went to the doctor, and it was on her record that she was a non-compliant patient, and they wouldn't give her another appointment. That's kind of what I feel like going to the doctor. I don't know if anyone listening here knows that episode, but I feel like Elaine, that I've got these marks on my record, non-compliance from statins. But
Next question.
Here we go. GFG Homestead, as MS progresses, it can affect the ability to swallow. How do you still consume animal protein without causing choking?
That's interesting. MS, yes, as MS progresses, it can affect the ability to swallow, but it did not for me. I was still able to swallow. If I had been unable to swallow, I think I would have put a ribeye in a blender and blended it up and used a straw, because you have to get You have to get it in order to fix the swallowing, right? Because that's a horrible thing when you cannot eat. Because I did have a swallowing issue, but it wasn't because of MS. It was because of rheumatoid arthritis. This is the story. And taking a steroid. This was 3 years ago. I took steroid medication for rheumatoid arthritis, my second autoimmune disease that I got. And the doctor prescribed a steroid, and the steroid got stuck in my esophagus as I was swallowing it, and it ended up damaging my esophagus because they're very caustic. Wow. And I ended up having an ulcer, and I was unable to eat because every time I swallowed, it was like someone was stabbing me. And I went 1 month without eating and lost 20 pounds. I ended up hospitalized because then I got a kidney stone from the poisonous plants. So I was in the hospital with a kidney stone and an esophageal damage. And where am I going with this? So I wasn't able to swallow, and that is like the worst feeling. It's one thing if you're fasting and you willingly say, I'm going to stop eating, but if you cannot eat because of some kind of damage, like you want to fix that. You want to put a ribeye. Well, I would put ground beef in a blender, and I would blend it up, and I would have that if that happened to me.
And if anybody asks, you had your protein shake.
That's that really. I mean, the white powder stuff is, it's all right. I mean, but it's not meat. It's not bioidentical, and it's also ultra processed. When you put that white powder in your cup and you blend it up, that's processed.
Yeah. All right, let's see. We got another question. I think you already answered this one, like what you eat in a day and if you practice fasting.
I do practice fasting. I love to eat steak. So when I fast, it is an ordeal. But I will do intermittent fasting where I'll skip breakfast or skip dinner and shrink my window. One thing that it was really successful in was alternate day fasting. I really enjoyed that when I got into the rhythm of it. But there is a rhythm, because when you are used to eating at certain times of the day, you will get hungry at those times of the day. So in order to not get hungry at those times of the day, you have to not eat food and you have to go through some hunger. And then after a few days, you don't get as hungry at those times of the day. I think it's ghrelin. Correct me if I'm wrong. When you have the ghrelin that comes, who knows, right? It comes.
Nobody knows that. I mean, good. Look at again, and all this stuff and leptin and all this hard hat science.
Hard hat science. But you do get hungry. If you eat breakfast every day, you will wake up and get hungry at breakfast. If you wait until lunch, you will get hungry at lunch. So your body kind of knows, but then if you don't eat for a couple of days at that time, you're not as hungry and it's easier to fast.
And ultimately, if you got to go try to figure out how to find food in an ancient environment, we're mostly dead. Go try to kill a cow in someone else's farm. Ain't happening. You'll be dead. You'll be dead.
You'll be dead.
Shut
I live
eyes.
live right near a forest, and there are a lot of deer. So, I think about this too. I think, if there comes a day where I can't get food in the grocery store, I can just go out to the woods and shoot some
Right,
deer.
but nobody else can find food either.
It's going to be, it would be chaos, right?
It can be, the problem is there isn't enough food out there in the environment.
No.
Because-
How are you going to be a vegetarian in my forest? What are you going to eat?
Right.
You're going to become the food for the healthy microbiome.
Yes. Oh my gosh. There was one time I had this stump, a tree had been cut down in my front yard, and there was this mushroom growing on the stump. And the mushroom, my husband and I were like, what is that thing? It was like this bright yellow color, and it like bloomed out and bloomed out and bloomed out. And one day I got a knock on the door, and they said, do you mind if I take that mushroom? And I said, you want that mushroom? They said, yes, we're vegan, and that's what we eat. I'm like, go at it. Take my mushroom.
How many people are killed by wild mushrooms every year?
A lot.
I'm going to find out right now.
A lot. And then
A
there was
lot.
mass murder in Australia a year or 2 or 3 ago, where they made wild mushroom soup, killed the family.
What does it say?
I'm waiting for the answer.
Yeah.
I'll be afraid to just pick out a mushroom and try to eat it because I have no idea which
I
ones
know.
are
This
There
is
you
okay
go.
and not.
a very
Alien
specific
question.
name.
Can you eat pork, eggs, pork, or dairy on the carnivore diet? I love them, but seem to have more problems. I do better on mainly beef.
Yeah, I do better on mainly beef. I do eat eggs. There was a time where I had a hard time eating eggs with the histamine, but that kind of passed. I stay away from pork. I have a very little bit of chicken. Like if I make some chicken wings, I'll maybe have a couple of chicken wings with my ribeye. I don't forego the beef or the chicken. But I have to tell you, I do not do well with dairy. Not at all. Dairy, I made, and that's why I don't do a lot of the recipes online that these people are doing, and they're fabulous. They look wonderful, but I cannot eat dairy. My eyes will puff up, under my eyes will puff up like you wouldn't believe when I eat dairy.
Do you eat raw milk or raw butter?
I eat butter. I can do butter. I can do, I buy Kiltz butter. It's from a farm in Maine. It's sold in the grocery store, and I eat butter. My husband will have yogurt, and he has whole milk. I don't have raw milk. I never tried raw milk. I wonder if I'd do better with that. But I don't know. I consider it like a gateway drug too, because because I can be so satisfied eating meat and eggs. I can feel so good, and then have a little bit of cheese, and then it's like someone, hello, the cheese is in the refrigerator, have another bite. It's like a very soft craving, right?
Well, because it's an opiate.
What's that?
It's an opiate.
It's an opiate.
Yes.
However, it's not like I had chocolate cake. Chocolate cake would be like, Diane, I'm over here, right? But not butter, but
Cheese.
will go.
Well, is it
Oh.
a death? Like, the problem is I will treat. Because I never cheat and I never worry about what I eat. Everything goes in my body is healthy and well for me. If I have a piece of cake sometimes, I don't lose sleep ever, because is a piece of cake your killer? It
For
isn't.
me, it is. For me,
It is not. No. Meaning that the problem is we have weaponized food. But a piece of cake was a treat from time to time. But now, because of supermarkets, we've made it all the time.
Right.
And so, but again, because I don't use the word, oh, you can never have that. I mean, what's one of the biggest killers in the world? Cars. Cars kill and maim more people than anyone knows. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just throwing my papers. Next question, Alia.
How long does it take to really kick arthritis? Oh, carnivore. How long does carnivore take to really kick arthritis ass on average? So pain is really gone. Thank you.
I would say it depends. It depends on how metabolically unhealthy you are, because your body needs to heal a lot of stuff that we're not seeing. When we don't, it's not like we can check under the hood and see like what our mitochondria are doing or what all this stuff is doing. We have to use ourselves as an N of one experiment. I tell you what, how long does it take? It takes a shorter amount of time if you don't do it. If you don't eat carnivore diet, it's not going to happen. If you start eating a carnivore diet, eventually it will happen. Maybe you'll feel something else happen in 3 weeks to 6 weeks that you didn't even know was wrong. Maybe your brain fog will lift. Maybe you'll feel more energetic. Maybe you'll feel less inflamed. Maybe, these things it's a gradual thing. But if you don't start the diet, like I didn't start it for 3 months. 3 months I knew about this diet and I'm like, I don't know. In those 3 months I got no healing, nothing, because I just thought about it. In order for the diet to actually work, you've got to actually do it.
Just
start. Just start. Like the Nike commercial, right? Just do it. Do it. Document it. Document how you feel. Okay, day 1, I feel like crap. I cannot walk. My ankles look like cankles. Whatever, like write down what is going. Take pictures of yourself, right? Day 7, write a little report about how you feel. Well, I kind of woke up a little easier today. I wasn't as tired this morning. Day 21. Oh my goodness, the sun is brighter. I'm happier. I'm not yelling at my kids as much. I'm not isolating as much, because there's a lot of things that happen. There are a lot of symptoms, psychological symptoms, emotional symptoms that you are having by eating food that is killing you. A lot of this stuff is happening and you don't even know. You just think it's your personality. No, it's not your personality. It's the food.
Mm-hmm. This is the last question. How do you cook a steak in an air fryer?
So simple, Alia. So simple. You take the steak, you throw it in, you close the drawer, and you press a button.
So simple.
Then I take a little butter and I make a slice of butter and I put a pat of butter on the top and put some salt on the top. And it's just so good. So good.
That's masterful.
Yeah, it's not even.
Well, do you have to cook a steak to eat it?
I do. I'm sorry.
Look,
I know you like raw food.
Do you have to cook a steak for it to be healthy and good for you? Let's get to the science. Science. Simple. No other animal cooks their food. Raw beef is healthy. Raw plants are harmful. Simple.
Yeah, raw plants are really harmful.
Let's throw the hard hat off and get to the simplicity of the story.
That's real simple.
It just is, because it's the raw fatty meat that is the healthy for us. The cooked removes what melts away when you heat up meat. Fat. Yeah. So what are most carnivores phobic against?
Fat. So you know what I do a lot of times? I'll cook the hamburger, like I scramble the hamburger, and it's 80-20, so there's a lot of fat, a lot of rendered fat. I'll put it in a container and I put it in the refrigerator, and the fat solidifies. And I really like that. So it's you can digest it better when it's not the liquid form. So a lot of times I'll do that.
Well, rendered fat is not the same as raw fat.
Right.
It's raw. It's the fat on our body. How is visceral fat harmful for us?
Visceral fat is the fat that's underneath the muscle in the abdomen, and it's inflammatory.
How?
It releases cytokines, and it causes inflammation.
How does it release cytokines? If you're 2 weeks on carnivore, no plants, or no food for 2 weeks, your visceral fat is trying to protect you.
Right.
It is the fuel and the building blocks of your baby and your body. But we've maligned fat, including visceral fat, as cause disease, but it cannot.
So from what I understand, though, the fat that's under our skin is made for that purpose. Like if back in the day we were to eat too much, I don't know, it would be hard for us to get visceral fat without eating carbohydrates.
No, it's easy. Is a polar bear massively fat with a large visceral fat cap?
I don't know, but what the subcutaneous fat is the fat that we store for short term.
No, we store for all term because fat is the only building block and fuel for your body. You do not burn or utilize sugar as a mitochondrial energy source. Directly.
But the problem is we never burn the fat.
Yeah, we do. We always do. The problem is,
why do people have big bear bellies if they
because the amount of input is greater than the amount of
that's what I'm getting to. The amount of input, people are just storing fat.
Well, they
not
are
burning fat.
No, they always burn fat. A fat cell is always the fuel for your mitochondria, always. But because the gut, the abdomen, the stomach, the intestines, and the colon, from the day you're born to the day you die, 3 to 6 mostly plant fibrous, low-fat diets a day. There's no fat in most people's diet. Most carnivores have a low-fat diet. And so the visceral fat, like subcutaneous or intramuscular or osseous fat, is fat generally made in the liver and distributed everywhere.
Right,
so,
from carbohydrates.
No, whatever. Amino acids and sugars in the liver become fat, VLDL, and via insulin, and they're stored everywhere.
The average person, Dr. Kiltz, is not eating like we are, right? And
No. The majority of human beings eat plants and lean meats.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
All of that basically goes to the liver. Insulin converts them to fat.
That's right.
Stored in the liver, stored in the viscera, stored in the intramuscular fat, and stored in the subcutaneous fat, because that's how the body works.
Right. And you burn it when you're moving, burning it all day.
No, you're burning.
The burn rate does not equal the consumption rate a lot of times, and that's why.
But there's a simplicity to our story that we're going to continue to talk about, and Ali is going to hit the button.